Okay, Brian, I'm starting to stream.
Okay, sounds good. Just an FYI, there are 2 streams listed on YouTube. One for now and one at 11 p.m. So.
And there we are. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to just pull up the chat here so I can see what the hell's going on. Go to YouTube.
Oh, they got a few early minutes there.
Yeah, we're just going to do a couple early minutes here.
Yeah, we got a few people in the chat already there, and sorry, I do see YouTube is showing me 2 links for tonight. The later one does not exist. It's
no.
Regular live.
I don't know why I cloned it.
That happens. Who do we got here? We have 3D Printing and Painting, Chris Galata, David Sell, Jim. Jim, I will pronounce your name right one of these days, but tonight is not that day. Marcis, I think that is. Meatball, Rex Waldy, and Rover.
So I am not going to be able to see the chat this evening, everyone. So, or not, pardon me, I'll be able to see the chat, but I won't be, what's the word I'm looking for? I won't be typing in, Brian will be typing in any responses tonight and doing any of the links. So just so everybody's aware of that.
I'm just going to move my mic in somewhere convenient here because everyone says I'm a little quiet. There we go. Free printer loud on someone's mic. Well, it's not me. So
Probably me.
Let's see which way. There.
It's probably me. Yeah. Am I too loud? Well, we can always turn it down.
Hopefully my levels are coming in. Everyone give me a thumbs up if it's a little better now. If it's not any better, give me a thumbs down. Welcome to the fun world of audio-visual streaming.
Is that better? Is that better?
Well, I can't hear your printer, but I also have you on my speaker, so I don't want to make it too loud.
Okay, but you can hear me fine?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Okay. All right, let's
now,
let's go to the top here and I'll see who we got. And I got to say all my hellos this evening. So John Kitchen, 3D printing and painting. I'm going to be talking about Jerry Knapp and his channel here in just a little bit. Rover, good evening. David Sell, Meatball, Chris Galata, Marseilles, I hope I got that right. Jim Harabank, Rex Waldy, Terry Murphy, Eccentric Nut. I had one of those until I went to see the doctor. Who else we got here? We got Alteracious, Chris Galata, Tracy Emsley, RT, good evening, sir. Raymond Emsley, who is our moderator this evening. Gary T, and there, I think I got everybody. All right, so let's get down to the bottom of this list. I think I got everybody. God, I hope so. Oh, no, I missed Minnesota Maker. I hope it's Alza Mikado. I hope I got that right. Ben Brady, David Duncan, Chris Walker, Nerd Girls 3D Printing. Yeah, Eccentric Nut often comes in pairs. All right, let's do this real quick. Get this out of our road. Hey, welcome back to the First Slayer live stream Saturday night. I'm your host, Richard Cleveland. I'm here with you every Saturday, unlike that other guy, that way.
Really? Really? Is that what I get?
That guy. That's kind of a new dance I'm teaching. So, Marseilles, or Marcios, Marcius has corrected me on his name. Marcius. There's 3D Maker Kid. Hello. Okay, a couple of Charles Grigg. Good evening, sir. We said a lot of our hellos at the top just before we ran the intro. We got a lot to talk about tonight. We got some questions. I solicited your questions yesterday. We're going to start doing that about Wednesday. I'm going to put that notice up at the top of our Facebook page every Wednesday. I'll also put it onto our YouTube community page. And then if you guys have questions, that's a place to put those questions. We'll hold on to them, and then we'll cover them on our Saturday nights. That way we have a good topic every Saturday, and we're not kind of flying by the seat of our pants. FYI, tonight at midnight Pacific, we will be switching to my new email blast email address. Okay.
Oh.
Rover, apparently. All right, so let's get into it. First and foremost, I want to talk a little bit about Jerry Knapp, who has been a longtime friend of this show and has been with us virtually since we started. Jerry runs a little YouTube channel called 3D Printing and Painting. He's also got a good Facebook page with a great community of people, a lot of crossover between our community and his community. Jerry is getting very, very close to reaching 1,000 subscribers. Did you guys know that? So,
And
if
that's
you,
incredible.
yes, he's got some great content. He's an old guy like me, so you get it. You kind of get it from the hip. He does a lot of painting. He does a lot of figure building, a lot of figure printing as well. So I'd love you, if you haven't already, go over, give him some love, spread the word. Let's get him to 1,000 subscribers, so then he can start generating a little bit of revenue, and, you know, maybe buy himself a can of pop once in a while, because YouTube revenue isn't much. Speaking of YouTube revenue, we do have our thingamabob turned on the bottom, I believe.
Super chat.
Super chat, that's what it's called. We've got our super chat turned on, and if you would be so kind and to, if you're in the mood to, throw us a couple of coins for some coffee, and, you know, I'll drink some in my new YouTube cup. We are less than 150 subscribers away from breaking 10,000, so thank you guys very much for that. So we're just kind of going to cover some of our subscriber news. We are just inching up. It seems as we get closer to that 10,000, things are really slowing down. But this is what happened to us last summer as well. It dipped down in the summer while everybody was going on vacation and holidays and things like that. And then in the fall, it really started to ramp back up again. And this year's no different. But we are so very close. We're less than 150 away, and it's all due to you guys. As a matter of fact, I will give you the exact count right now. We are at 9,854 subscribers.
Woo.
So we're gonna party like it's 1999 again.
I don't want to party like it was 1959. Do you remember what the 3D printers costed back then? It was like $100,000.
That's true. But boy, the music was better in 1999.
Hey, you know what's a cause for celebration? I leaned forward and I found all my M3T nuts.
Hey!
Hey, Brian can build stuff again.
Brian found his nuts. We'll leave it at that.
That's the key.
Brian found his
Hiding
nuts.
away at everything.
There we go. So I'm drinking pop. There's no libations in there this evening. It's straight pop.
Oh, no.
Yep. 3D
Makes you
Printing
feel
PA.
underwater.
Good evening, sir.
I've got a swig of very classic Pepsi left. Just a swig of it.
Clear. You know, is that
Now
like
that's 1990. That's partying like 1999 right there.
Can I have a Pepsi free? I'm sorry, kid. Pepsi ain't free. You gotta pay for it.
Hey, I'm sorry. That's dating me just a little bit. I get the reference, the film reference, but Pepsi free was not in my time.
There you go. Pepsi free was in my time, however. Boy, does that ever make me feel old. And when I was asking you guys the other day on Facebook, should I get it cut or should I let it grow? I was meaning my hair, but the whole picture didn't come out. It just sort of centered on my mustache. So right now my hair is quite long. Look at that. I'm a hippie. I'm a hippie. It comes down past my nose here.
No, you don't have a hair problem whatsoever. Just saying. Just saying. Ah.
Oh, there he goes. There he goes. Hey, there's Snapshot FPV. In any case, I will be doing something about this very, very soon. So, my good friend Jerry Knapp, speaking of him, got in touch with me today and hooked me up with the creators over at Z Sculptors. And if you guys haven't heard Z Sculptors, they're kind of a smaller community of people that come together to design and produce some beautiful 3D printed models. I'm just going to go over to their page right now, which is right there. Let's cut over to there. So this is the Z Sculptors website. Now they've got some amazing models over here, and I'm just going to kind of scroll through. They've got like Iron Spider here, $20. They've got some Star Wars. That Leia bust is really kind of cool. This one right here, it's a life-size Leia bust. You might have seen over on Jerry's Facebook page that he's got some of these up. He's done some of these models and painted them. They look amazing. The sculpture work is just, it's very, very cool. I'm kind of digging this Michael Jackson one from Thriller. Kind of neat, and I really like this Wonder Woman as well. They've done a very good job. I think that these guys are well on their way to creating a nice little 3D empire, a 3D or STL empire for models, so that they're in the very same caliber as our good friend Sanix over at malix3design.com. And I think that these guys, if you're interested in getting models like this, check these guys out. Go give them some love. The prices aren't that bad. I mean, let's look at this one. This Pennywise bust is $15. That's actually a really good price. $19.99 for the Beetlejuice. If you want to get Jabba the Hutt on his throne, $20. If you want a really good value, you go for the whole diorama at $45. You get Jabba, Leia, Salacious Crumb, and Bib Fortuna, which is right here. All four of those models come in the diorama. I'm going to be working on that diorama very soon, actually. And we'll get it all painted up and maybe teach you guys how we painted it. They've got some beautiful, beautiful kits here. This is another one I'm very interested in. Just kind of give you this. This is the Joker from The Killing Joke. It's amazing the quality of these different models that they have. You can see there's one that's been painted. There it is again, a little bit closer up. And the sculpture work, I imagine a lot of these guys work in ZBrush because they're calling themselves Z Sculptors. But the detail on this is just amazing. I can't wait to get this one and put it into my collection and paint it up. So check them out today at zsculptors.com and check out the different things that they've got going on over there, and maybe get yourself an STL while you're over there. Add one to your cart, set up an account, and create a wish list. I got a few in my wish list now, and they offer a 100% money-back guarantee. All the models are tested before they go up on the site, so you know you're getting good quality models. So it's not too bad. Let's go back to where we were. There we go. Hey, there's Brian. What do you think of those models, Brian?
I'm impressed. As you were going through them, I saw stuff, as I said, like Cowboy Bebop and various stuff, because, you know, I'm a bit of an anime nerd. I used to be, at least. So seeing some 3D models with some of those designs, that's pretty awesome. I admittedly, before today, I had not heard of them. As soon as you said Z Sculptors there, I said, oh, okay, if they're using Z Sculpt, which I have tried to play with, and I admire the talent required for it, you can do some amazing stuff with that. And from that cursory glance, I'm going to definitely need to look further into their catalog.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Let's go up here. We've got Gary T says, Ben Brady, I think it is like work, but with flip-flops. I think they're talking about us. Ben Brady says, Diet Dr. Pepper rules. No, it doesn't.
Okay.
Sorry, Ben. No, it doesn't.
You have to understand about our good friend Ben Brady. I think you're still going by the 3D printing Texan, aren't you? Because Dr. Pepper comes from Texas, and if you've had fresh Dr. Pepper in Texas, it's a whole different ball game from the Dr. Pepper you get up here in Canada. So,
Oh yeah, it's like our. It's kind of like our liquor. It's not watered down.
Oh well, you don't want to. That's going to start a conversation.
Yeah, I know. Let's get to some of the questions on Facebook, shall we? Let's
Absolutely.
dive in. Okay, Andy Downey says, or asks, what's the recommended entry-level dual extruder? CR10S is great, but want to take it to the next level. Brian, what would you say?
Well, step one is make the decision of, are you going to go multi-material or not? If you want to go multi-material, that's going to jump the price point up significantly, but depending on the company, and I say depending because I still haven't found one that I exactly like, multi-material is the way to go. But bear in mind, when you have two separate nozzles and it has to do different bed leveling, it introduces a whole new set of issues. So if you want the least headache dual extruder, go with a mixing head similar to what's on the, what was that Creality one called?
CRX. The CRX, yeah.
That was probably the most budget-friendly one I've seen, where you can mix the two filaments, but bear in mind, you're going to purge a lot, and you're stuck with essentially yellow.
Gotcha.
With that being said, take a look at why you want to do multi-material. If your goal is dissolvable supports, you may be able to get away with a mixing one, but you'll probably need separate nozzles. If your goal is to do multicolored parts, look at the opportunity of changing your model up so that you can pause your print and change filament partway through. And most of the stuff we have, I think, for instance, the subscribe button right behind Richard there is printed with a pause at a layer height. So this is just a single nozzle printer that just went and printed the red, paused it, or Richard paused it manually, switched over to white, and resumed the print. So for a lot of people, that's going to be sufficient. Just take that into account. But I'm still working on a dual extruder plaything of mine because I do want to do dissolvable supports for a cleaner print. But just think about how limited that application is. If you have a couple over $1,000 sitting around, yeah, there's plenty of good dual nozzle systems available out there.
Hey Brian, can you lift your audio just a little bit? People are complaining that you're a little too low.
Yeah, I'm going to try and figure out what's going on this side. It looks like it's coming in low to my mixer, so I will let you chat for a minute while I play with
All
this.
right. Okay, so, yeah, everybody's saying boost your audio. Mike Castle, hello, sir. Hey, there's these sculptors in the house as well. We just gave them a little bit of love and a little bit of promotion for them. He loved the t-shirt, by the way. Go Power Rangers. I thought he was talking about my t-shirt, which says the first layer.
I mean, your t-shirt's pretty awesome. This was a $5 Walmart special.
I love those $5 Walmart specials.
Right, because I like the retro aspect of them. Walmart's got its perks.
They do. They do. Okay, so in my opinion, if you're going to go with a multi-material machine, you really need something with two heads. Really set your budget. There's no easy entry-level sort of, in my opinion, there's not really an entry-level dual-head extruder or dual-head system out there, multi-material system. Again, if you want to spend the money, take a look at the Palette 2 Pro. It's multi-material. It mixes them on the fly. You just have to do a little bit of setup work. We're going to show you some of that in upcoming episodes pretty soon here on the channel. We've got the Palette Pro back in the house, and we're going to do a little bit more with it and make sure that we can actually make a sign that actually has all the right colors. So we'll calibrate it properly and so on and so forth. But if you're looking at something like that for I think it's $7.99 in the States, take a look at the Palette Pro. Then you don't have to buy a whole new printer. You just have to add this to your existing CR10S, which is kind of a really good way to go.
Now, that, before you endorse the Palette 2 Pro overly, bear in mind that it doesn't solve all the problems either.
That's
if
true.
Your goal is to do dissolvable filaments or shorter lengths, you can't do it. I don't think. Not easily, because I can't recall what the slicing distance is on it.
I don't recall off the top of my head, but we're going to check it out. So stay tuned. Keep watching the channel. We're going to have another Palette 2 Pro demo coming up here pretty soon. We'll be a little bit more in depth, and we'll show you exactly what's going on. I've got an STL that I've set up myself that has 3 colors in it, although it can use 4 colors. I've only set it up for 3, and we are going to show you guys that in an upcoming episode. Charles Griggs says, I find dual gear extruders, i.e. Banggood clones, work well for not clogging also. My problem with, and everybody knows that I have a problem with cheap Chinese knockoff stuff. Being in this hobby now for 3 years, I've learned a lot in a very short period of time. And one of the things that I've learned is not all parts are created equally. If you find a good name brand part, let's use E3D as an example. If you find a good name brand part like E3D, and you see an E3D clone on Banggood or Amazon or wherever for like $8 or $12, and you rush out and buy it, I can guarantee you're going to end up coming to see me or another retailer and getting yourself some genuine parts, because those parts are not manufactured nearly to the tolerances or the specifications of a genuine product, even though they're open source. Also, Ben Brady says, you'll also have to change the control board to do dual extrusion. Not all the time you don't. A lot of control boards are coming with an extra port so that you can put a stepper driver on there for an additional extruder. If you're buying any of the aftermarkets, such as the MKS boards, I think the BM or the SKR boards now have them as well. There's an extra slot there, you know, for most of their boards, and you can just check that out.
And honestly, in many cases now, we just recommend replacing those boards anyways.
Yeah, I do, definitely.
You know, the Creality ones, they're getting better, but when they are the top tier, I get a little worried myself. You know,
yeah,
if you're buying a third party on Amazon, day one purchase, just buy yourself a new MKS board. Save yourself the headaches.
I agree. 100% I agree with that. Ben Brady says buy genuine, and I agree 100%. Buy genuine. You're not going to go and buy yourself a Ferrari and put a Ford engine in it. Or a knockoff engine that's been made by Ford.
Just a final thought on that one too. Bear in mind, if, let's say, these Chinese clones are superior in every way, and I'm using the term Chinese, well, let's just say any clone, right? Any clone of a product. If they are truly that great, then at the end of the day, a company like E3D would be out of business.
That's right.
So you have to look at why are they still in business? They're offering something that another company is not offering adequately enough at a lower cost. So, you know, I mean, by all means, support the big guys. Sure, you can get a clone E3D hot end, but can you guarantee you're going to get the same clone E3D hot end? I highly recommend watching the Prusa videos just to kind of see what level of detail they go through their QA process. That beyond everything. So,
all right, let's jump into the next question here. Andrew Young on Facebook asked, do you need to completely clean off the bed after each print, or just when it gets kind of cruddy? That's kind of an open-ended question there, Andrew. I'm going to tell you this. If you look at any of the beds that I have that have glass on them, with the exception of this one right here that I'm running right now, I haven't cleaned my glass bed in probably 6 months. I just keep adding more glue stick to it, and eventually I get to the point where, you know, it's all out of whack, and then you got to clean it off and re-level your bed, and away you go. So no, you don't have to clean off your bed every time. If you're using glue stick, I just let it build up. With this stuff here, which is the 3D glue, I just tried this for the first time today, and it seems to be working. I'm printing something here on the Ender 3, and it's working. It's sticking down really nice, and apparently all you got to do is just take your scraper at the end of the print and just scrape the residue of this off, and then apply some new stuff. So that's the way to do it. I find glue stick on glass works really well because you don't have to apply it every print. You can apply it once every 3 or 4 prints, and that to me is a good way to go. What do you think about that, Brian?
Yeah, what I've learned over time is if you're having to reapply glue every single print job, you might want to take a look at your bed leveling.
Yeah.
And in my case, I have the ABLs there, the BL Touch, and most of my issues were a result of me not setting the correct settings for things like fade height and the parameters for that BL Touch. Once I got all that in place, I'm still running on glass with a glue stick. I think I applied 2 weeks ago, and it's still sticky. So, I mean, remember that glue stick is a bed adhesion assistant. It's not a bed adhesion replacement.
There you go.
So if you can't get it to adhere to that, you've got kind of bigger issues there. So, take a look at heated beds. That's the reason why they put heated beds in your printer. Check your temperatures. Check the height of your nozzle when printing over it. It'll curl up or it starts dragging. It could be too close to the surface because it should flow fairly easily out of the nozzle at even 195.
You're kind of warbling in and out with your audio there, Brian. I don't know what's going on your. Yeah, I don't know what's going on on your end. Really quick,
Okay.
Ben Brady says E3D is not open source. You're absolutely wrong about that. The E3D V5, the E3D V6, the E3D V6 Lite are all open source hardware, and they made them open source so other people could copy them. So, and I know that for a fact because I've spoken to E3D about it. Paul Cumber, cool Power Ranger shirt. You're getting lots of love tonight, buddy. Uh, 3D Printing PA is saying, I clean my bed after every print. I can't use a printer that is dirty. Dirty, dirty printer.
Eccentric Nut says, I take a shower every night before I get in bed. Keeps it clean. Does that count?
No. No, not at all. Not at all. Ben Brady says, Richard the Razor Cleveland. I don't know if I'm a razor or not. I'm not that sharp. Did anybody see my pictures of my shooting, my attempted shooting? A firearm this week? 3D printing and painting. If you have support or brim material, remove that, reapply bare area. Yeah, that's a good idea.
It doesn't hurt to have extra glue, but it's actually really easy to over-apply it. And then basically, you're at that point, it's so rough on the surface. I just say get a removable, flexible build plate.
Yeah.
Right? The idea is you want to put a thin enough layer so that when you hit 60 degrees, it's soft. So that the plastic will melt it out and flatten on the glass, but you have just that extra resistance. And you know what? When it cools down and you wash off the bottom of your print, it should still be fairly smooth. But if you're not going for a smooth bottom and you're willing to accept a bit of texture, honestly, I love these flexible build plates that come on the edges now.
Nerd Girls 3D Printing, she says, I just said, or I think she said, I just heard you talking about the SKR board 1.3. I think I have this board and the LCD part and the SD card part at the wrong way around, if any of you did not know this. So I guess you got some ports that were the wrong way around. Interesting.
Well,
I haven't seen that yet.
Were you coming from a Creality printer? Because Creality display has been known to be backwards from the default specification for those ports. So a lot of the times, I mean, I'll be honest, I have not broken one yet. But I'm going to advise you that you could potentially break it. I would take a pair of side cutters to that tendon connector. I don't think I have it lying around here right now. But I would snip off the black tab. Now, if you're going to use those side cutters that come with your Creality printer, put your thumb over the top of that part, because that thing will go flying and go blind you. Okay? But if you snip off that tab and you plug it in, it doesn't work, you can quickly flip it around. And actually, I disconnect sometimes my LCD cable in the midst of running the print job, just because it's too bright in the room. And you can do that. So just hot swap and test it. Just don't leave it plugged in too long, just in case it is bad.
Hey, Brian, every time you lean back, apparently that's when your audio is going wacky. I think your might be having a better day.
Yeah, you know what?
That's better. That's perfect.
Here. Yeah, I know. but this is like me right up and close. So I'm going to switch over to my other mic here. I will
Okay.
let you continue to talk while I fix it up.
Brian, your audio is terrible. All right, so Richard Taylor asks, what best camera to record and or time-lapse prints? My personal favorite is the what is it, Logitech C920 or C910. Anything that's got an HD signal that will, or full HD signal that will go off and give you that 1080p resolution. Now, you might be limited because of your Raspberry Pi if that's what you're using. But the Raspberry Pi, if you're using the 4, I think you can get full 1080. I think you can get full 1080 out of the Raspberry Pi 3B and B+. So you might want to double check that. But any of the good webcams out there, they're in around the $60 to $100 range. What does the wrong way around mean? I'm not sure. Meatball's asking, but that's okay. Okay, so, and Richard Taylor has one last question. It says, best way to clear off support scars. That's the bane of my wife's existence. And I say that because I don't clean my own models anymore. She cleans all the models. And yeah, she does a fantastic job. When you guys see those models that are ready to be painted, my wife's done all that work. I haven't touched it. Best way to clear off support scars, honestly, is some of those little needle files, sandpaper, and some filler. That's the best way to do it. Sorry, I can't give you a quick fix for that. It's a little bit of elbow grease. What is wrong? Okay, well, I read that by Meatball. So, over here on this side of me, I'll just go to my camera real quick here. So you guys can see over here I'm running the Ender 3. This is the last one that I built in the class. Nothing's really been updated on this except for I moved the spool holder down and to the back of the printer now because I was experiencing at home with it being up here, I didn't make one of those arms that brings out the spool, and it was wearing into the extruder. So what I did was I moved it down to the back here, and now it works perfectly. I'm not getting any more of that wear. When this goes up, it kind of wears evenly, so I won't get another little press in, and I won't get any under extrusion because the filament is getting caught, and that seems to be working really well for me right now. Nerd Girls. Also, if any of you did not know, in the Marlin Bug Fix 2.0, there are some games within the code that you need to uncomment. And you can play them on your 3D printer. Well, that I did not know. So there you go. If anybody's playing with the latest Bug Fix of 2.0, there's some games in there. I slice with S3D and don't have support scars. I slice with S3D as well. For the most part, and I do have a few support scars from time to time, but how I've gotten away from that is I've widened my supports a little bit, not made them so tight together. I've made them a little wider apart, and that seems to reduce them, and I get a much cleaner print that way. Let's go back to Brian and I. There he is.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah,
hey,
welcome to the.
We got to say hi to Luke, the One Bad Marine. He's just joined us for the evening. Also get a set dense support layers to builds 2 thin layers between models and supports in S3D. This might help. Yes, definitely it will. I slice with S3D and don't have support scars. Support scarring, again, it's a fine line. It's finding that right amount of support without having too much. A good example is this Chinese lion that I printed this week. There's not a lot of support scars on this, and they were all down in here and underneath the chin. I do have one line that is under extruded here, but that was because the filament was dragging through the extruder. But other than that, this thing came out really good, and all the supports on this came out very, very easily. Within a couple of minutes, I had all the supports off this, and I've got no scarring underneath, and it looks amazing. I love this model. I'll just rub them for luck. Maybe we'll get some money.
It truly is. We'll have to post some more high-res photos of that thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, now I think we got everybody. I think we covered all of our questions so far tonight. If you guys have any more questions regarding 3D printing, go ahead, put them in the chat tonight. We're going to try and cover as many as we can. Brian, what are you working on currently?
I'm building a window with lots of linear rails.
Oh, where are you going to slide off to?
I'm gonna be sliding in a lot of directions apparently.
Gotcha.
It's another test, another Brian's stupid adventures and weekends. So we'll see where it goes. But that's the fun thing about this hobby is you're always trying to learn something new. So I'm gonna try something a little bit stupid and different, and if it works out, you guys will hear about it. If not, you'll never hear from these rails again.
Hey, there's Chris the Deco guy. Seen it in person, and it's amazing, he says. There are a couple more questions on the Facebook thread. Am I missing some? I think I got all 4 questions on the Facebook thread.
There may have been more asked after the fact.
Well, let me just refresh the page.
Which we appreciate. We love all the questions from you guys, and thank you for asking them. I'm just waiting for my computer to stop smoking here. Here we go.
There you go. We're going to go back. I just refreshed the page, so see if we got some more. I only saw 4 when we started the show this evening.
Okay, Bill McDonald asked, how do you reduce Z seams and how do you reduce infill showing through the walls? Very good question, Bill.
That is a good question.
You want to take that one, Richard, or do you want me to hit it?
I'll let you go with your opinion, and we'll see if mine differs.
Okay, well, reducing Z seam is an interesting one, and it varies printer to printer. There is a setting in Cura to reduce the Z seam by stopping the extrusion before it finishes drawing a line. Now, that can kind of create some issues, but I'd recommend using the high Z seam support feature that randomizes the location, unless your goal is to sand it, in which case they're all at the same place. So that's my recommendation, but there's a couple of ways to deal with that. Number 1 is linear advance in the firmware, and once I get that right, I'll talk about it. But since I'm not getting it right, we're not going to talk about it. So for now, that leaves, what is that setting called in Cura? The one to stop feeding before the end of the line. I'm going to have to look that one up.
Yeah, I'm going to have to look it up too, but yeah.
In regards to reducing infill showing through the walls, there's a couple of settings. And at the end of the day, I say just add more exterior walls, because then your infill, it's still going to be as strong. It's going to be bound into the model a bit more, but it's not going to echo, I guess is the best way of showing it. It's not going to echo through the walls. So with 3 exterior walls, I don't ever see that myself. If your wall thickness cannot be adjusted, there's a distance setting. Again, I'll have to look up the name of it, but it defines how far the infill creeps into your interior wall to ensure a strong adhesion with the outer wall. So I think I have mine set 15 to 20% of the way into the next line. If it's a big issue, you can actually dip that back. I would not recommend going any lower than 5, or you'll risk the infill not actually adhering to the outer walls.
Man, I don't know what's wrong on your end, but your audio just sucks tonight.
Well, I am going through a web vMix call, so there's a lot of introduced issues.
All right, so Ryan Shearer says, so I had someone build me the firmware, but I have no clues as how to flash it. And I'm assuming he's talking about the firmware for the SKR board. Basically what you do with that is once that bin file is made, just put it onto the SD card, slip the SDR or micro SD card, that's the word I was looking for, into the slot on the board, and it will flash the firmware directly from that bin file. Bill McDonald, okay, how do you reduce Z seam? All right, so Brian hit the nail right on the head. Reducing Z seam, you can have it all in one place. There's several ways that you can do it. You can put it all in one place on the inside and the outside. And that's all in Cura, and you'll find that under the, I believe it's under the movement settings, or under the wall settings. You'll just have to double check, but it is there. You can tell it exactly what X and Y coordinate you want it at, and that's where it'll do it on the inside and the outside, so it'll stop at the same place. Somebody just put out a great video about that recently, and I can't remember who it was, but I did watch it, and they do a fantastic explanation on ZSeam. So what I would suggest you do is go and check out YouTube after this show. Don't go while you're still here. Just wait till after we're done. And then just type in ZSeam, and I'm sure you'll find that video. It just came out maybe about a week ago.
Snapshot. It's
Go
called
ahead.
coasting.
Coasting.
Look up coasting, Cura. Now, coasting is how far you want it to coast. And if you think about it like a boat, you know, if you're feeding out filament like it's your motor, coasting is the period at the end of the line to which you shut off the motor and just coast along the end of the line.
Yeah.
So it's going to take a lot of playing, and it does do a lot of retraction work on your print sometimes. So start out with a very, very small number. And if you have something like, what was it? I had a lot of issues with Bondtech with coasting because it's a really hard RPM ramp back sometimes. So play with it. Just be aware that, you know, if you set the coasting too long, you're going to get holes in your print. If you set it too short, well, it's the same as it's running right now, but you're going to have your filament wobbling back and forth quite a bit in the nozzle at the end of those lines.
Yeah. Larry Hall, flashing Big Tree SKR 1.3 with a 12864 LCD graphics smart display for the Ender 3 using Atom. Not much luck so far. Well, there's a lot of things that have to be worked out. If you are unfamiliar with how to use Atom correctly, that's part of the problem. Secondly, not everything seems to work so far in 2.0 with the SKR 1.3s. If you're putting this into an Ender, I would have recommended, Larry, that you go with the E3 board, which is a direct replacement for the board that is in here already. I actually have one that I'm setting up on my desk right now. I'll just unplug the lid so you guys can see it here. Oh, come on. Okay, the lid doesn't want to come undone. Here we go. So, let me see if I can get this out of here. There we go. So I've got this SKR board. I got another camera here I can actually bring around and we can play with it. All right, let's see if we can go to this camera right here.
In the meantime, while you hop over to that, bear in mind that that Platform IO, which is the add-on for Visual Studio Code or Atom, it does have a lot of settings. It was actually designed for Arduinos, and then when the ESP8266 chips came out that emulate Arduino, it became the known point because the Arduino IDE didn't handle 32-bit well. And the reason for that is because the 32-bit boards do not work like your standard 8-bit board. On a standard 8-bit board, you're going to burn your firmware using the USB cable, and then it's going to be set in stone there. But on the SKR boards, anything that runs the STM32 chips or the LPC 1768 and so forth, they rely on the SD card to update the firmware. And so you might be able to compile your firmware, but if your settings in Platform IO are not set up to upload that code to an SD card or a micro SD card, it's going to compile, it's going to say done, everything looks good, and it won't do anything. So I haven't done a video on at least the Visual Studio Code version right now because Platform IO just got a major update and they moved the folder where they put the binary file that goes onto the printer. So I don't want to give you one piece of information and have it change again. So I'm still sorting out the tidbits with that. But if you do have a question like that, throw it on our Facebook group and I will walk you through it.
All right, so I'm going to cut over to this board here. And we'll make sure that that audio is still on. Obviously, it's not working, that button. Okay. So, Brian, I've cut you off for a little bit. here's the SKR E3 board inside the exact housing for the Ender 3. Now, this particular setup comes from, this casing is from an Ender 3, not an Ender 3 Pro. This came off my original Ender 3 at home, and I'm going to be putting it back on. Now, one of the things I did find with this board, it did take me a little bit. The steppers I was using on it were not UART enabled yet. I had UART enabled in my firmware because I downloaded the SKR firmware for this, which is a version of Marlin 2.0 that was built by Big Tree or modified by Big Tree for this board. Now, I did find that if you put the regular 2208 steppers on here from Big Tree, they aren't going to work because they're not UART enabled. You must have UART enabled steppers on this board if you're going to use the UART functionality. And if you buy the kit with the steppers for this board, they already come enabled. All you got to do is plug and play, set up your firmware if you're putting on a BL Touch and that sort of thing, and away you go. I'm ready right now to take this home, plug it in to my Ender 3 at home, and get 32-bit operation using the standard screen that came with my Ender 3. So there you go. And there we go. We're done with that. Hopefully that helped everybody's questions.
I hope so, yeah, because 32-bit stuff, I gotta admit, it's great. I think they've pretty much nailed it on the head of what they need now for that.
I think so too. I want to get back to the chat. I'm missing the chat here. There it is. What have I missed in the chat? Try my Thingiverse. Ben Brady's asking me to try his Thingiverse model for the angled spool holder to use with the Ender 3. He says, I'll like it. I'll take a look at it. Absolutely, Ben. Send me a link in Facebook and I'll go have a look at it.
Yeah, for those of you who haven't seen Ben's models there, he's been doing some great work actually on the cases for the SKR actually, and he's providing weekly updates on the group.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks great. I mean, admittedly, I'm not running that board, so I haven't had the time to print it and check it out, but he's put his effort into it. It looks great, so check it out.
So there's a question here from Alteracious, says, does that SKR board, is he having trouble updating come with the bootloader? I'm not kind of sure what you mean there. This does not come with a bootloader. It comes with their version of a firmware, which is based on SmoothieWare, I believe. And I could be wrong about that. Brian, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But once you do the Marlin update to this, you do have to use, right now, I would advise that you use the Big Tree 2.0 latest updates for these because they're just easier to navigate, and they go on to that board much easier. And don't futz around with, having the card in there and then trying to write to the card through the USB. That's all nonsense. Just take the card out, move it over to your USB card dongle there, and just load that bin file right onto that card directly, and then plug it into the machine, turn on the power, let it load in. You'll see a series of lights going on and off when that happens, and it works great. So Platform IO is depreciating Atom. They're requiring VS Code. Yes, they are.
And it is a much better way to do it.
Yeah.
The downside is Visual Studio Code, as far as I've seen, is only in the Windows realm right now because it is a Microsoft product. I could be wrong on that, but I have not gone exploring for my Linux machines yet to see if Visual Studio Code is available.
So Meatball says, can get a good flash with stock display. I get a great flash with the stock display.
Yep.
Somebody was saying here that they had to take off, where were they? Oh, there's John Kitchen. I want to say goodnight to John Kitchen. He's got to run. RT says, are you guys going to do a video on Atom's setup? Yes, we are, but we're probably going to be using the Visual Studio more than using Atom. Visual Studio is a little bit more robust. We'll show you how to set up Visual Studio properly as well. There's a couple of videos out there now by a little bit more technical people. We'll try and walk you through it with layman's terms as best that we can. There will be a video coming out as well. Anyone actually solder or replace the AT Mega 1284 chip on the stock Creality with a 2560 just to get more storage? I don't know. I have not. I haven't heard of anybody in our community that has. Eccentric Nut, NVM, I think the audio has a few more issues than just your distance. So, okay, that was...
Yeah, I think there's something going on with that system. In regards to the soldering, your question, as far as I know, okay, this is based off all the boards I have on hand right now, the 1284 and... was it 320? No, that's... I'm thinking of my old Arduino days. The 1284 and the 2560 are not pin compatible and are in fact a completely different die size. So if I hold them up, I'll try and hold it up side by side here. You can see the one on the bottom. Oops, sorry, this way there. There we go. Ah, there we go. The one on the bottom is the 2560. It's got a much larger pin out because it has a lot more I/O. The one on the top, 1284, is actually a smaller footprint and different pinout size. Now, I haven't looked through the Atmel catalog in a good 15 years, but I would say if there was a pin-compatible size to 2560, Creality would have just put it on here already.
There you go. Or they may have not done it just to save money. 6 of one, half dozen of the other with some of these companies.
Yeah, we're talking fractions of pennies sometimes on these bulk. So
Jerry says he's had a little problem. He had a crazy problem the other day. Filament broke, printing in midair. Stopped print, went to raise Z, couldn't move, motor was too hot. That's interesting.
We've all been having that lately, actually. The motors, well, the stepper motor does have a lot of electronics in it. You know, it's designed to do micromagnetic steps. It's more than just your 4 pins, basically. And yes, they do overheat. I have been encountering this lately, too. So I can't speak on behalf of the seizing portion. Now, that's interesting in itself. But if you're consistently finding layer skips, or you're constantly finding it just halts altogether, you might want to check your reference voltages on that main board. Again, you know, they shouldn't move over time, but every climate is different. Here in Calgary, it's been pretty darn warm the past few days, and I've noticed my motors have been running hotter. And honestly, what I did, I took an 8-inch desk fan and I just blew it towards the printer to give it that extra airflow. And that solved all my problems.
You can buy heat sinks for the stepper motors themselves. I know that we have them here. They're made by Montech. I'm sure you can get them from other manufacturers as well. We sell the Montech brand here at Spool 3D. But at the end of the day, I haven't had any of those issues, fortunately, this time around. But you're not the only one I've heard that from so far in the last couple of weeks. And I think it might have something to do with the voltages and the vibration in the machines. Just because those potentiometers aren't the highest quality potentiometers that they have on there. They're pretty loose. If you actually just hit them with a little bit of a screwdriver, you can see how they kind of jingle and jangle around. So they're not the greatest. If you are going to change out the boards, then I would certainly go to a stock replacement board, much like the E3 from SKR, or the SKR E3, or the Creality silent stepper board, or something along that line. I've got a Creality silent stepper board in one of my Enders at home, and it works great. I haven't had any problems with it. Charles Grigg, funny, but you need the hot stuff to stay hot and the other stuff to stay cool. Fans in the right places, yes. We were talking a little bit about garbage in, garbage out today when it came to filaments. And it's the same thing here with parts, garbage in, garbage out. If you're buying or the company that is manufacturing changes a supplier, for instance, they may not be getting the same stepper motors. They may be getting a different stepper motor. I know I have stepper motors around here that were running super hot, and we reduced the voltages down on them, and they still ran super hot. They ran so hot that they literally melted PET G and enlarged holes, so the motor actually was moving where it shouldn't be moving. So with that said, you know, you really want to check what type of stepper motors you have. And some of these companies, I hate to say it, but because they're in China, they're not always getting the same stepper motor consistently with every batch of printers that go out. So whether it's Creality or any of the other smaller companies out there that are buying these motors in bulk, they're not created all equally. Just like all parts on your 3D printer are not created equally. And you may have some that are less of less quality than the others. I'll just put it that way.
Absolutely.
Yes, voltage is turned up as per the TH3D Studio 6 months ago, and it's CR10 in my enclosure. Now, the CR10 in your enclosure, here's something that may be affecting that. When you put a printer in an enclosure, and I've discovered this myself kind of the hard way, that heat is staying in there, and that's affecting not only the electronics, but it's also affecting the motors. It's heating them up as well because they're in that ambient heat. Put a motor out in the sun for a little while. It's going to get really hot because of the heat and the sun beating down on it. Same thing's going to happen when it's in an enclosure. It's going to get a little bit hotter. So be mindful of that. Try, depending on what you're printing, if you're printing, you know, something that needs to be in an enclosure, print that piece, open up, let things cool down, start another piece. If you are printing, say, something like PLA or PETG, none of that needs an enclosure. Keep the door open, keep the walls off, whatever you have to do. Get airflow moving through there and try and keep those electronics and all those moving parts cool. I understand now with Jerry, he's got all of his stuff on the outside. I understand that, but the motors themselves can still ramp up the heat, not only because of the voltage going to them, but also because they're in that enclosed environment. So just be aware of that. It's something that can affect the lifespan of your motors and your hardware. Okay? So we are 4 minutes out, so we're coming really close to the end of the show. I want to thank Brian tonight for being here. Over there, there. There you go. There you go. There you go. Got to point that way.
And then, is it richer this way? Yeah.
Yeah. So we're trying to be here together with you every Saturday. If not, one of us is, mostly me. And I just had to throw that in there a little bit.
This is what happens when I get cheap jabs because I actually decided to take a vacation for myself for once. You know.
I haven't had a vacation in 20 years, so go ahead. Have
it's about time.
Vacation. Yes, it is about time.
Hey, put some super chat money in there. Let's send this guy to Shenzhen. How about that?
If we can raise enough money to send me to Shenzhen for next year, I'm going to go and do tours of a bunch of different factories. So that might be a way, something to do. Send Richard on a vacation. There's something. We'll try that.
Yeah, we'll call it Get Richard Out of the Country Fund.
There you go. Get Richard out of the country fund. Also want to go to Vegas next year too, so I can see Jerry and do a stream with him out at his place. So with that said, let's give Jerry Knapp at 3D Printing and Painting on YouTube a little push. Let's get him over that 1,000 this week if we can. Thank you for everybody that went in there that wasn't a subscriber before. Thanks for helping Jerry out. I'm sure Jerry, appreciates it all. We got to get him over that 1,000 so we can start making some coffee money. Ben Brady also has a YouTube channel, and go and check him out. I think he's at 3D Printing Texan. So go check that out as well. And you guys can put your links to your YouTube pages down in the chat tonight. Thank you to all you guys for showing up tonight and asking your questions. I really like doing these Q&As because it keeps us on our toes and makes us have to think a little bit. We're going to do this again next week. So we're going to put this up on Wednesday. We're going to close off the questions by Friday night. So if there's something I have to research at least, then I'll have a full answer for you next week. Next Saturday coming up, a week from today, if you are in the Calgary area, Airdrie, Okotoks, anywhere in around Calgary, come and join us at our meet and greet. We're having it at the Alistair Ross building. There is a meeting event thing set up on Facebook. Go check it out. It is from 1 p.m. till 4 p.m. We're going to have coffee and donuts, and you can bring along your prints if you want to bring along your prints, and we can talk about that. If you're having some other issues, you want to bring a printer by, you can do that as well. The reason that we took it to the Alistair Ross building is so that we can have you bring whatever you want. Go ahead, Brian.
Just remember to, don't all bring your printers if you're not having issues, because I'm pretty sure we're going to have limited power outlets.
Yes, we are.
So we're going to have to print off.
HVAC A to Z says, sorry I was late. We're sorry you were late too. You missed a great show. 3D Printing and Painting is having a live stream on Tuesday night at 6 p.m. I believe that's Central Time. Might be Mountain, I'm not sure.
Believe so.
I believe so. Hit that like button, guys. Hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed. Also, leave us a comment down below. Everything helps. If you didn't like tonight's live stream, give us a thumbs down. If you loved it, give us a thumbs up. And go and check out our merch. You can get yourself some of these fine, sexy t-shirts like I'm wearing. You can get yourself some hoodies, tote bags, cups, mugs. Mine's over there somewhere. Although this mug holds more than my other mug does. I just thought I'd shill that a little bit. And that's Pacific Standard Time for Jerry's live stream on Tuesday. It's 7 here now, and it is 8, so there you go. So he's Pacific. Yes, he's Pacific. And so it's 7 there. Okay. Yeah. All right. What else was I going to say, Brian? Oh, thanks, Spool 3D. Thanks, Spool 3D, for letting me use this office.
Stickers on your laptop.
Yeah. We have stickers on, new stickers on the laptop. We were using some 3D gloops, so we put their sticker on there. And I will be doing a review of 3D Fuel Filament coming up pretty soon. You guys are going to see that. Theirs is the Pro PLA. You can anneal this, and it's supposed to be stronger than ABS. So we're going to check that out, and we're going to put it to the test. Other than that, have yourselves a great weekend. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go home, spend some time with my wife. I've been away from her for over 12 hours today. And we will see you guys on Monday night when we have part 7 of Painting the Man of Steel. So if you've been following that, I really thank you for that. And throw some comments down. If you've got anything that you want to see me paint, put it in the suggestions. Put it in the comments so then I can add it to the list of stuff to paint. I will be doing a piece from Z Sculptors after I finish the Man of Steel. I'm going to start printing it real soon, and then we're going to dive right into that. And it's a multi-part diorama piece. That's all I'm going to tell you about it for now. But go check out Z Sculptors and pick up some of their models. I think they're at a really great price, and they've got some really good quality prints over there. So until next time, my friends. Brian, do you know the tagline, or are you going to forget it again?
Remember that the first layer is your foundation to a great print.
There you go. Until next time, my friends, have yourselves a great evening.